We've talked about how the Niners have improved this offseason, what Robert Saleh means to them. How about comparing them to the rest of the division? The Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks. Why don't we start? Let's go team by team. What do you think of what the Seahawks did this offseason? They had a 10-win team last year. A couple of years before that, 9 wins, and they get rid of Geno, they get rid of DK, they get rid of Tyler Lockett, the whole new look on offense. What do you think?
I cannot see them being as successful as they were last year or the previous 2 years. They've given away too much of their offense, their experience at wide receiver immensely. And Geno Smith, you look at his stats this past season, the guy did put up some yards. He threw some touchdown passes. They responded to his leadership. They brought in, the former USC guy at quarterback, and they brought in the new offensive coordinator now this year. They've made another switch in that respect. And they might be improved on defense, but I think I like their running backs. They got 2 darn good running backs. They got the UCLA kid. They got the Michigan State kid. Those 2 guys are premier. They can play anywhere in the league. I tell you that I question they're a little bit short in my mind in the tight end room. I'm not a fan of who they've got being a dominant factor. And then they got the Ohio State kid at wide receiver on one side, and then the rest of the offensive pass catchers are like, crapshoot.
What do you think of Cooper Kupp at this point in his career?
I hate to say it, as great a success that he's had, I look at him, the receiver, once your legs go, especially when you start to get to that age, I think he's seen his better days. He'll catch some balls for them, but I don't think he's going to be the same kind of weapon that he was with the Rams when he was really going full bore a couple of years ago, lighting it up.
I agree. Do you think that's the team most likely to finish last in the division?
I tell you, it's going to be Arizona should finish ahead of Seattle. I can make a few points maybe why they won't in Arizona, but right now I think Seattle is going to be the cellar dweller in the NFC West.
What do you think of Arizona? It's year 3 of Jonathan Gannon. It's year 7 of Kyler Murray. They got to do something, right? They made a bunch of moves on defense in free agency.
They have. They've improved immensely on defense. My concern is the quarterback spot. You just mentioned Kyler Murray going into year 7. If he can't get it done now, they do have some consistency with their staff finally. I think it's time for Arizona to be shopping for a different quarterback after this coming season. If Murray cannot get it done, you brought in a wide receiver from Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. You've made some improvements in the run game. You worked on the offensive line a little bit. My whole thing hinges upon what Murray's going to do as a quarterback, as a passing quarterback. And a lot of their passing game success over the years has been outside the numbers. And he's marginal. I mean, let's put it honest. The guy's short. He's 5'9" and change. You can eat soup off his head. He has trouble throwing the ball between the numbers. His passing
that's not going to change.
And that's not going to change. I go back, even go back to the days when Saleh was the coordinator for the Niners back then. Arizona's big passes always were on the outside, the 10-yard, 12-yard outside the numbers.
To Hopkins.
Yeah, you did not get gashed by them throwing the ball in the middle of the field.
No.
So, that's the toughest thing can he do something offensively at quarterback besides his legs to be able to get them in the playoffs?
Yeah, it was interesting. Last year, coming off that torn ACL, he ran like less than he had really ever in his career. Didn't help the offense. He turns 28 in August. He needs to show that his legs are such an asset at this point in his career to put up with all of his immense limitations as a passer. And at his age, teams might start to feel like, your legs aren't that big of an asset anymore.
Michael Vick went through the same thing when he began to realize that his legs were not what they were when he was younger coming out of Tech. And he finally realized that I've got to do some more things in the passing game. I've got to make better decisions. I've got to be able to process better. I've got to be more accurate. I've got to have better timing to be able to compensate for my improvisational plays that are not as frequent as they were a few years ago.
And it seems that the Cardinals are so invested in Marvin Harrison Jr., who really didn't live up to expectations last year, maybe his fault, maybe Kyler's fault, that if he has another disappointing year in terms of production, they might feel compelled to get a different quarterback who can get the most out of Marvin. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now.
Well, the other thing is, a lot of limitations with Marvin Harrison are predicated upon what Kyler Murray can do at quarterback. Correct. So therefore, I can't utilize all of what Marvin Harrison is because I got a guy who can't get in the ball in as many types of throws that I would like to be able to make that Marvin Harrison Jr. is physically able to run those routes. But if I can't get the quarterback to deliver the ball either accurately or make the proper reads, Marvin's dying on the vine out there.
Yeah, how many comebacks and 12-yard outs can you really throw and run?
Yeah. How many different stems do I have to have running those routes to give the defensive back a different look? And they're going to just sit there and wait for the 12-yard out or the 10-yard out or the 10-yard hook or whatever. And they're not going to worry about, the in routes and the deep opposite routes and things like that because they don't exist. So,
and then on the other side, you got Trey McBride, the tight end who just got paid a lot of money, seems promising. But again, can you fully utilize him with a quarterback who can't really throw the ball over the middle?
Correct. You can play a cover 2 shell on them all day to roll up on Marvin. And now McBride's got to beat the linebackers down the middle and split the safeties. But then can Kyler Murray make that throw where he has to get it up and over the top and get it down underneath between 18 and 22 yards?
That's one thing that Brock Purdy does very well.
Correct.
Okay, which team do you like better on paper, Niners or Cardinals?
Oh, Niners.
Okay. What about the Rams?
Well, see, I tell you what. Stafford came back to me. That was huge because they don't have anything after Stafford. I mean, let's be honest. And so and then you bring in Davante Adams. That's a quality wide receiver. I know he didn't do well at the Raiders. He didn't do well in New York for whatever reasons. But I tell you, you got Matthew Stafford. So now if I'm Davante Adams, I'm not working in Vegas about running a bunch of 8, 9, 10-yard routes. I can get down the field. I can run the deep end. I can run the deep corner routes. I can run the post route. I can run the 9 route. So my whole tree as a wide receiver is open for me to exploit because Stafford's got the arm horizontally and vertically to get me the ball anywhere on the field. So I'm a happy camper if I'm Davante Adams. And then you got Puka Nacua. Hey, the guy's going to catch a fewer balls than he did last year and the year before because Adams going to get his balls. Okay, let's be honest. Now, that's another thing they're going to have to decide coexist that, he's not going to be the number one guy anymore. Davante Adams will be the number one guy. Davante Adams is 6 points on any given play. Mm-hmm. Kua is not 6 points on any given play.
That's true. He doesn't score touchdowns like that.
Correct. He can run after the catch. Davante Adams can go over the top beyond the defense. So I only got to beat one guy to get 6 points with Davante Adams. But Nacua, I got to get him the ball, and he's going to have to break some tackles and run to score. Davante it's like Branch. Hey, I'm over the top. We're going deep. I only got to beat one guy.
What do you think about their running back?
I got the arm to get it there. And the running back is better than people think in L.A. The kid's got some tools. He's got some talent. And the other thing is Sean McVay, I like the versatility that he shows on his offense. Now that he has Stafford and Davante Adams, Cohn with Nacua, and then he's got the running back. They're my favorite to win the division, despite the fact that the Niners have the easiest schedule.
Yeah, the Rams have a much more difficult schedule. They have that first place schedule. I think they have the Eagles, some tough teams. Ravens, I don't know.
Yeah, they're playing all the playoff contenders.
So the Niners have a shot. They have an easy schedule. They're on paper the second best team in their division, and maybe they could actually pull out a division win if I don't know. If Matthew Stafford goes down, that team's in a lot of trouble, unless you like Jimmy Garoppolo. Get started at factormeals.com/cone50off and use code cone50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Well, no, that's over. The one thing for the Niners, for which my major concern is, can they stay healthy?
Yeah.
They cannot go through another year, even with this week's schedule, by having their top 7 players miss 77 or more games.
Yeah.
I don't care. Salah's not going to be able to suit up and play. You got to have the players out there. You lose a Warner, you lose a Bosa with a hamstring and a groin, or you lose the guy for whom you just traded with Philadelphia, or you lose a corner. It's a whole different game for you. I've got to get the players from OTAs through mini camp, through training camp, and into the season healthy and on the field.
Well, for the main guys who missed the most time last year, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Trent Williams, Greenlaw. Niners don't have to worry about Greenlaw missing time anymore because he's gone. The other 3 guys on offense, I feel like there's still major question marks this year. If they play a lot and play well this year, the Niners are in business. If not, they seem a lot like the team that they had last year, except with Robert Saleh.
Well, that's the other point, which you just touched on a little bit, is that with Saleh, your points against you scored on defense should be fewer than they were the previous 2 years. So now I don't think the Niners have to go into a game thinking I've got to score 27 or 28 every week, because the defense now should be able to keep it to 14 to 17, maybe at the most. So now we're back to scoring 21 or 24 rather than having to score 28 or more to win, because the opponent's not going to score 27, 28, or 31 where it's a track meet. And so I think Saleh is going to help the offense, because the defense is going to get more 3 and outs, and they're going to stop opponents from scoring as long as the Niners are not giving the ball over with turnovers on offense. And so I think Saleh is worth a couple wins because of his ability to be able to school the defense to play more soundly.
Yeah, the Niners lost so many one-score games last season. You'd think maybe if they had Robert Saleh last year, they might have gone to the playoffs.
Well, think about it. How many one-score games were they in and lost?
6 or 7, and they lost all of them but one. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. They won one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 5 or 6 more wins last year would have put them at 11 wins or 10.
Right. And not just the defense, but also the special teams was even worse than the defense last year. Now that it seems like maybe they'll have a normal special teams.
Well, they've made strides on both special teams as well as on defense with personnel as well as with coaches. So you know what? That could be worth 4 or 5 more wins right there. I think they should win at least 10 games.
10 games? That should be the bar right there. And if not, we could see Robert Saleh as the head coach of this team next year. Be very interesting.
You never know.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you check out 49ers Pass Reps, www.passreps.com/Niners, $14.99 for the season. Great value. Tom's going to be updating it weekly, adding new plays, and we're going to be using it when we do our shows during the season to give Kyle some suggestions, some food for thought. Last time we gave Kyle food for thought, we just suggested using 11 personnel more often, and things didn't go well from there. So we'll have to pick our spots.